Hello, my name is Ali and welcome to my channel. We are back with Hakuoki Kyoto wins Okita's rant. Let's go. It was night at the Agi house and dead silent. I tiptoed down the halls as quietly as possible. Huh? Were my ears playing tricks on me, or did someone just walk into the common room? I would be in trouble if someone saw me, so I did my best to blend into the shadows and hide. After a few moments of heart-pounding seclusion, my curiosity got the best of me. I departed my hiding place and crept toward the common room. I peered inside. It was Sanan. I wonder why. Something felt wrong. I just stood there. What is Sanan doing here at night, so late at night? I was at a loss. Should I speak to him, or... Before I could make up my mind, he turned.
I never thought that it would be you who would catch me. How unexpected.
Sanan gazed directly at me and muttered.
You're there, aren't you, Yukimura? Come out.
I guess he spotted me. I gave up and made myself visible to Sanan. I'm sorry if it seemed like I was snooping or watching what you were doing.
Well, I don't plan on scolding you. I mean, if you see a suspicious shadow in the middle of the night, of course you'd be curious.
It was very subtle, but I noticed something was off in Sanan's attitude. He had a peaceful smile, something I hadn't seen for what felt like ages. It was a bit too peaceful, as if his worries had suddenly left him. It was an expression I had never seen since he'd gotten injured. Sanan? Did something good happen?
Why, yes, something did. Or rather, I guess I finally made up my mind.
Something swished in his hand. Sanan, what is that?
You wondering what this is, I imagine? You're wondering what this is, I imagine. That's what it was.
After his cryptic reply, he showed me what was in his hand. Sanan was holding a small bottle made from fine... Is it hydro? I guess that's how you would say that. Let's look it up. Refers to glass, also called poppin? No, sorry. I am exhausted because yesterday my son was sick with a 102 fever and it was heck. I'm very thankful that my husband was working from home that day because he was just sicker than a dog. It was terrible. Anyway, today he had no fever, so that's a good sign. The glass was filled with crimson liquid that looked like a poisonous chemical to me.
This is the secret treatment developed by your father, Kodo, under orders of the shogunate.
What? The shogunate ordered my father to do something?
They say it first appeared out west. The contents of this tiny vial can utterly transform a person.
What do you mean by utterly transform?
To put it simply, it makes them stronger to heightens their recuperative abilities.
It sounded like something out of a fairy tale. If such a thing were to truly exist, the serum would be considered a miracle cure, but...
There is, however, a rather serious flaw.
His smile twisted only a little.
I suppose you could say it was too strong. It worked as advertised, but drove its patients mad. You've seen the results yourself, haven't you?
Of course. I'd seen the results of that madness the night I first met the Shinsengumi. Okita and Saito had killed off that monster with the white hair. Frickin' creepy.
Your assumptions are correct. Yes, those warriors you met are of that ilk. They were no longer capable of what one might call rational thought, and were little more than bloodthirsty monsters.
His words brought a sharp chill down my spine. How horrible.
If they lose control whenever they see blood, then they're hardly much use in battle, aren't they? As unkillable as they may be, Kyoto conducted experiments on the core during the development of his treatment.
No! My father? Conducting experiments on human beings? That made them go mad inside of blood? I couldn't believe it. No, I didn't want to believe it. But there was no reason for Sanan to lie either. I saw it before, my very eyes. Then, did father really? Sanan shrugged off my disbelief and continued.
Unfortunately, when he disappeared, his research was put on hold. This vial here represents the fruits of my own personal research, based on what he left behind.
He smirked and shook the bottle gently. The liquid inside sloshed from side to side, almost lazily.
I've diluted it as much as possible.
Oops, of course this pops up again. I had so many questions to ask him, but I didn't even know where to start, so I simply spoke the first thing that came to mind. If you drink that, will you be okay? So that serum will prevent you from going mad?
To be quite honest,
What's honest? What the heck is wrong with me?
To be quite honest, I'm not entirely sure. I've never tested it on anyone.
His smile faded.
If I take this, my arm will heal, assuming, of course, I've mixed it correctly.
You mean you're actually considered taking it? He had no guarantee that it wouldn't simply kill him outright, and even if he did survive, it might well drive him insane. Sanan, please reconsider this. I'm sure there's some other way you don't need to rely on the...
I have no choice. This is the only way to heal this damn arm. I'm already useless here. Even the men have begun to speak ill of me behind my back. You will never understand me. I came all the way to Edo alongside my comrades, whom I thought were behind me. And now I'm left here given a position out of pity and left to wallow in my own uselessness.
How could you say it's pity? You're a leader here. The Shinsengumi respects and needs you now, more than ever. Sonan's eyes dotted with melancholy, flashing a brief smile that entertained the idea behind my words.
Ah, yes, I remember it well. I am a swordman of the Shinsengumi. Yes, and I am not useless, right?
And of course, why does this pop up? Sanan seemed bitterly focused on the words Hijikata said earlier. They really did affect him.
There is no life for me as a swordsman. You're asking me to continue in some sort of death.
Why did I give him some weird accent? With the weird voice, I give him a very odd accent.
Let me die as a person as well.
No!
It's not decided that it'll fail. The odds against success aren't as terrible as you think.
Sanan smiled as he said that, but there was no way to know what might happen to him. Considering the worst that could happen, I couldn't sit by and allow him to do this. I'm going to scream. Ah! Sanan came to hate himself for being unable to fight alongside his comrades and friends. Even if they forgave him, he never forgave himself. But
I doubt you can understand.
Was it the sort of thing only a fellow swordsman could comprehend? Then? Oh well. How could I convince him to listen to me? It was then, in that moment of helplessness, that I remembered Okita's words. Oh, geez, that's bright. Well, if you see something scary, just make sure you scream right away, all right? It's our Okita boy. Of course. I could never know what Sanan felt, but another man devoted to the sword might. I screamed as loud as my lungs allowed, my voice echoing down the halls and across the courtyards of the compound. that even as I cried out. Oh. Sanan drew his head back and drained the vial in a single draught. No! With the soft clink of glass, it rolled from Sanan's palm to the floor of the common room. His face warped in pain, and he collapsed to the floor. Ugh! His hair began to turn white. Gah! It became clear to me that his pain was something no ordinary person could handle. Sanan, you have to hold on. Through his fingers, I saw his maddening eyes. Before me were the eyes that greeted me on that first night in Kyoto. Behind me, I heard the door slide open. Sanan looked behind me over my shoulder. Okita, you... Good evening, Sanan. It seemed like Okita didn't even look at me. His eyes completely focused on Sanan, then briefly the small bottle on the floor, before back to Sanan. Butterflies! Oh, for some reason my sound isn't on. Thanks for the heads up, Chizuru. Okita? Sanan stared at Okita, his breath ragged and pained, like air struggled to stay in his chest. Sorry, I had to fix my headphones. They were doing something weird. Yes, she's right. This experiment was a failure, Okita. I hate to impose, but if you could... Yes, I understand. His expression flashed into a familiar grin. Oh, jeez! Even after Okita drew his sword, it still didn't occur to me what was about to happen. The polished tip of Okita's blade was pointed directly at Sanan. Don't worry your little head. It would be my pleasure to help you die. I'm glad to see you're quick to the task. It's expected from the sword of the Shinsengumi. Sanan exuded calm at the sound of Okita's response. I held my breath, unsure if I wanted to see what was about to happen before me. Okita! You're not serious, are you? You aren't going to kill him, are you? My voice shook with disbelief, and Okita's eyes paid me no attention. Knock it off. You aren't part of this, so keep your mouth shut. But wasn't Sanan his comrade, or his friend? Everyone seemed to give their heart and soul to the Shinsengumi, but not like this. It's really annoying, you know. You think you're part of the Shinsengumi? He didn't even move, but his tone hit like a slap. I'd been living with them for so long that my initial fear almost completely disappeared. I felt like I'd found a place for myself. If you've already forgotten, let me remind you. We only keep you alive because you're useful. You are not one of us. Oh, Okita. Man. Break my heart. Oh, I didn't even notice it says it on there. His words shattered my already breaking heart. But just then... Gah! Sanan screamed in pain, and I saw him kick the floor. Ooh. Then I heard a horrific sound, like meat being cleaved and resounding through the darkness. Oh, I don't like this. Ugh! Peeking over Okita's back, I heard the loud thud of a body collapsing to the floor, and around Okita's foot pooled in dark red puddle of blood. Sanan? I was trembling as I watched the blood trickle. Stay away from him. Okita's arm appeared in front of me coldly. What? But why? I gave him a reproachful gaze, but he showed no signs of faltering. Are you going to make me repeat myself? I told you to stay away from him. I subdued him for now, but I don't know what it did to him. Careful, he might still get up. Huh? What I did to him isn't enough to kill him. Not after he drank that stuff. He's not gonna die. So Sanan is still alive? Okita nodded bitterly, his body locked into a defensive position. Oh, of course. I just told you he can't die like you or I can. So yeah, obviously he's still alive. I was relieved from the bottom of my heart. Oh, thank goodness. This good news, however, didn't mean we could let our guards down. Sanan can lose his senses again and potentially mortally wound us. But for now, at least Sanan is still alive. After Sanan collapsed, the captains rushed into the room. They must have heard the commotion from the common room. Everything glowed white after, and I realized that I was in a daze. None of their words stuck in my ear, and I wobbled back to my room.
Seriously, you can really be a pain, you know that?
Okita had taken me back to my room, and I heard him as soon as he opened the door for me.
Time for you to explain what went on last night. Why were you in there with Sanan?
Okita was never particularly pleasant with me, but his tone was even harsher than usual. I felt like there was someone in the common room. I was curious, so I had a look. I found Sanan in there.
I see.
Okita's lackadaisical response seemed disarming, and he just scanned me. Although my mind had cleared somewhat, it was still difficult to keep my thoughts organized. One, however, rose quickly to the surface. Is it true that my father had something to do with that stuff that Sanan drank?
Did Sanan tell you that?
Yes. He said it makes you stronger, but it drives you mad. He fixed his eyes warily on the ceiling above us, sighing before eventually answering my question.
You are the daughter of the man who made that stuff, and you've seen what happens to the men who go crazy. I suppose you do have a right to know. It'd be easier to just kill you, but, well...
His manner of speaking was far removed than his usual joking self when he mentioned killing, but this time it felt like he meant it. He could kill me at any time.
So, you got any questions? I suppose I can answer you one.
I desperately searched for the words. Why did the Shinsengumi get involved with something like this?
Our job is to crack down on outlaw Ronin, but... You know that doing so isn't some walk in the park, right?
Yeah. Among the Ronin, there are plenty that are actually skilled swordsmen. When I was on rounds, I saw many such men fighting and dueling amongst themselves.
When we started out, we were really short on men. Our reputation was shit, and we couldn't pay that well either. Anyway, we didn't have many men asking to join, and those that did were pretty disappointing. That was when some guy from the shogunate showed up and offered to make us part of this experiment.
An experiment? That must have been what Sanan was referring to. So, you knew what the side effects were, and you still made them take it?
We didn't make them take it. It was their choice. You see, the Shinsengumi has this thing called the rules of conduct. Just so you don't get all confused, it's a set of rules we employ to keep everyone in line. Usually, if we would break our rules, we make you cut yourself open.
Cut yourself open?
Why are you so surprised? The only way a warrior can own up to something is by cutting themselves open.
Traditionally, when samurai disgraced themselves, they drove their swords into their bellies. I had thought such traditions were obsolete, and that now the worst they do is pretend to cut themselves open with a fan.
You get it, right? If they're gonna die anyways, don't you think it makes more sense for them to save some face and take it in their own hands? For these guys, we give them a choice. Kill yourself or drink the Shogun's concoction. You get it? Don't you feel bad for them?
I couldn't think of anything to say. What sort of choice was that? Death by your own hand? Or madness and death by someone else's? The men that I'd encountered that winter night had their last thoughts as men been hoped they might. That sounds weird. The madness. It sounded horrible.
Something that makes you strong and hard to kill should be really great, right? In actuality, though,
They ended up being a piece of cake. We could easily kill them all. In a moment, I was taken back to that fateful night when Okita dispatched the warriors with white hair without any effort. I wonder what's going to happen to Sanan. I'm going to let you guys go here. I hope you are enjoying, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!